What's up YouTube, it's Bastian here. There is a Dragon Ball CCG deck that I kept up in my sleeves for quite some time now. I've actually built it about 6 months ago, 7 months ago, uh, around January time I would say, maybe February, which is of course our Super Earth tool build, which in my opinion is definitely one of the most fun decks that you can play in Dragon Ball CCG. And let's explore why that's the case. So, Super Earth is the first Super Earth deck that I ever included on the channel. But for any Super deck, we're of course starting off with the Turn Zero Gokus. Now, especially for this deck, he's a foundation card because, well, we are trying to do a couple of tricks with him, really. So let's leave him here on the side and let's explore why we really need our Gokus in here. Now, as I mentioned, we got two builds here. And when I say two builds, I mean that our techniques are, we got 8 tool techniques that we run in this deck. So we're really going to be capitalizing on these specific technique types that we are running here. So we got 3 turn 0 Gokus and we have 3 turn 0 Dr. Brief here. Dr. Brief is definitely not your usual attacking character, but a 0-2, very good supporting character. But even more important is the fact that he's got this valid ability where you can play with the top card of your planet revealed, and if it's a tool card, you can basically play it as if it was in your hand. Now, why is this good for us? Again, we have 8 tool cards in the deck, so almost a quarter of the deck are tool cards. Which, you know, you would think, okay, well, that's not really going to grant us to always be able to hit something of Dr. Brief. Well, of course not. Of course not. But we can only run 15 technique or event cards, really. That is worthwhile. We want to maximize the amount of the warriors that we can run in our deck. So to ensure that we actually hit the right tools, we're running 2 Fortune Teller Baba, a set 1 classic. For 1 Chi, we can look at the top 3 cards of our planet and we can put them back in any order. So this is where the fun really begins already in our second turn. If we can drop Dr. Brief and then we can drop Fortune Teller Baba, we have a much higher percentage of chance of actually being able to play the top card of our deck, which is a tool card, hopefully. We already created card advantage here in our very first turn just with the combination of these 2 cards, because essentially we have an additional card in our hand if it's a tool card, which we don't have to worry about. Plus we know what we're going to draw in our next turn, or you know what we're going to be charging to energy as well, because we're going to be seeing the top 3 with Fortune Teller Baba. So far so good for a start. Moving on. We don't really have a lot of turn 1 warriors. We really only run the 2 Fortune Teller Baba, but we do run 3 copies, the whole playset of Dr. Wheelo. A lot of the times Wheelo is splashed for his first and second ability, the fact that he can plunder. So if his team wins a victory, then he steals a Dragon Ball coin off one of your opponent's warriors. And if you're the attacker in your strategy phase, you can discard a card from your hand, reveal the top 2 cards of your planet, put one into your hand and the other one into your chi. So yeah, okay, you sacrifice a card, you don't necessarily get card advantage, but you're definitely gaining chi or ki advantage. But his last skill is often overlooked. Whenever he is the user of a tool technique, you may draw a card. Again, we got 8 tool techniques. We can manipulate the top of our deck to get that tool technique. Whenever he plays a tool technique, we draw a card. So if we can play 2 tool techniques with Wheelo, all of a sudden we drew another 2 cards. So again, we're churning through our deck, we're getting the right cards that we need for this deck to function. Next one, we have 2 Goten. Goten is here because we want to have a way to search for our GT trunks. And we have a full playset of GT trunks. He's basically our pseudo Dr. Wheelo. He's not as good as our Dr. Wheelo, but still, if he has a Dragon Ball coin on him, if he used a tool technique card this turn, you draw a card at the end of your turn. Now, it's not the same as Dr. Wheelo, because you don't get to draw multiple cards of him, and he's got to have a Dragon Ball, and you must draw the card, whereas with Wheelo, you can choose not to. So when you start to run out of cards from your planet, you might not want to be using trunks that often because you don't want to deck yourself out. Don't forget, you lose the game if you got no energy left in your planet anymore. So what Gotten allows us to do is twofold, really. Well, threefold. He's got backup, which is already cool. We can get him back from our chi into our hand if you got a same color chi card to replace him with. When he comes into play, we can search our planet for trunks, reveal it, put it on top of our planet. What else can we do? We can then look at the top 3 cards with Fortune Teller Baba, maybe put him second, maybe get a tool on top that we can play. Next turn when we play, we draw into our trunks. Excellent stuff. Plus, if he's in the same team as trunks, he gets +1/+1. So the two of them together are actually a 4/2. No, they're a 4/3. So the two of them together are 7 power already. So we gain just marginal advantages here. But again, we get card advantage. He can search for him. They work well together. And that's really what we want. Then for our turn 3 drop, besides the trunks, the GT trunks, we have one Hercule. Excellent support warrior. He's got a 3 support value. Even if he's injured, he's got a 2 support value. Very useful. And if you're the attacker in the strategy phase for free, we can pick him up, put him back into our hand, and deploy an additional warrior this turn, except another Hercule. So we can't obviously chain him into himself. But this allows us to basically drop 2 warriors in one turn. And that, ladies and gents, it's an excellent ability to be able to do. You can really, really surprise your opponent, especially with this deck, with what you might be able to drop even after you played your initial warrior deployment, because normally you only get 1 per turn in this game. So Hercule, we don't really run more than 1 because we don't want to run more than 1. We don't need that many of him, but we can draw into him quite easily, unless he ends up in planet damage, in which case, oh well, you know, shit happens. But Hercule is definitely a very good card, even just as a supporter. We're going into turn 4. We got 2 TNs, both of them foil. Quite proud of that. Again, he's got backup, so if we have the same color chi, in which case either Super or Earth, which is basically our old deck, we can pick him out of our chi, put it into our hand, replace it with another card of the same colors. When he comes into play, you may move target technique card from your chi area into your hand. In that case, put a card from your hand into your chi area. Remember what I said about these techniques? You are basically able to recirculate your tool cards with TM. And that's important because we only have 8 tool cards in our deck. And sometimes we want to be able to use the same tool card a couple of times in a turn. And TN allows us to do that exactly. Don't forget, when you play a technique, that doesn't go into your discard, it goes into your chi. The whole cycle of energy thing is going on here. So TN, excellent card. Plus a really good attacker, 5/2, 4/1. Excellent card again. Now, starting to get into the big bombs. We got 2 of the set 6. I wish. Set 5 Goku, the Genki Dama Goku. By far the best turn 5 Goku that was ever printed. That goes without saying. He's got the exact same stats as all the other turn 5 Gokus, 5/2, 4/0. He's your generic non-transformation Goku. He's got super heal, excellent. He's got toughness. And in our action phase, which is a valid skill for 1 chi, he gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of human warriors you control. Bear this in mind, because so far we had Dr. Brief, 3 humans. Fortune Teller Baba, 2 humans. Guess what? Dr. Relo is a human. We're at 8 humans. Goten is a human. 10 humans. Trunks is a human. 13 humans. Hercule is a human. 14 humans. 2 TN. 16 humans. And we also have 2 18s here, which I'm going to get to later. We got 18 humans in our deck. So Goku for 1 chi is going to get the biggest boost ever that you can do in this card game. If you can, of course, have enough humans in play to pull that off. It's really just down to you whether you can do it or not. Alright, realistically, he's going to probably get a pump of +3, +4. If all goes well, if you can really protect your characters, which might happen, might not. But even with that, because this is a valid skill, even when he gets damaged, you can really make him into a very decent supporter. A 3-4 support on a 4-0, especially if he's a 5-2 and he's standing, he becomes a what? With an additional 4-4, he's a 9-6. At that point in time, he's an excellent lead warrior or supporter as well, if you can get somebody out who's even bigger than him. And indeed, we are going to be able to bring stuff out that's bigger than him, trust me. That's my expertise, guys. We got 2 Vegeta Super Saiyans, again, the set 5 Vegeta. The best Vegeta ever printed. 6241, yes, it will cost you 1 chi. Really, who cares about that at this stage? He's got Super Heal, Toughness. He obviously makes all the Vegeta techniques cheaper. Fine, we don't really care about that. But if he's got a Dragon Ball, for 1 chi, you can look at the top 3 cards of your planet, reveal a technique card that this warrior can use, and put that card into your hand. Put the rest of the cards at the bottom of your planet in any order. So you drop Vegeta every turn. You can search your deck for a tool, because what he's looking at is not the fact that he's got requirement Vegeta. What he's looking at is there a requirement that's not Vegeta? Is there a requirement that says Cooler? Is there a requirement that says Frieza? He can easily search for a technique card that doesn't have any requirements, because guess what? He can use those. So you can search your deck for every technique card with Vegeta. Just the bomb. And guess what you can do if you run Vegeta and Goku in the same deck? That's right, you can fuse. And that's exactly what we're going to do in our fusion deck. We got Vegito. We also have Gotenks, because we have the ability to fuse into Gotenks with Trunks and Goten. We also have Gokyo. One of the reasons why we run that Hercule is we might want to fuse into Gokyo. And we got 2 Gojiras here as well, just for good measure. So normally, if these 2 guys are down, or you got your turn 0 Goku down and your Vegeta, you would probably fuse into Gogeta. Makes sense. But let's say it's turn 3, and you decide that you need a little bit more beef, and you got your turn 0 Goku in play, and you got your Hercule in play. Let's say you're going to fuse into Gokyo. Gokyo's got a fairly few decent skills himself. He's got Thresh 1, no sorry, he's got Super Heal, Fierce 2, and you can perform an adventure. Basically, you reveal the top of your deck. If it's a warrior, he gets +X+O, where X is the turn cost of that reveal card. If it's a technique, this warrior gets +O+X. If it's an event card, this warrior cannot be sent out to battle this turn. Well, lucky us, we only have 1 event card in the whole deck, so we're pretty certain that we're gonna be able to give him some sort of beef. And you do this in the strategy phase. You do this before you arrange your teams. Depending what card you flip, you can either send him out as a lead warrior or as a support warrior. Brilliant stuff. We can fuse into Gotenks. Gotenks has Thresh 1, and he's able to, for 1 chi, select one of the following in the showdown of this turn. This warrior's team and the opposing team either perform an adventure showdown, instead of the attack, or in the showdown of this turn, this warrior's team and the opposing team cannot perform an adventure showdown. We don't really care about his skill, but what we care about is a 7040 fusion card, which is the bomb. Now, most decks don't really talk about Vegito, because everybody's like, oh, you're going to fuse into Vegito anyway. Well, of course you are, because he's the best fusion card. Arguably one of the best cards in the game, but I'm probably going to do a top 5 anyway, because we got some serious contenders against Vegito. But what he's got Super Heal, Toughness, Thresh 1. When he comes into play, you can search your planet for a technique card, put it into your hand. If he's got a Dragon Ball, if he becomes a user of a technique during the action step, you may give 1 damage to target opposing warriors. Just absolutely silly what he does. And he's a 9/4 AO, so he's an absolute beast of a card. And if you're just generally fusing, always fuse into Vegeta of Goku and Vegeta. So why would you want to fuse into Vegito? Well, Vegito is the original one. He came out in Set 4, and he's got the same skills in terms of Super Heal, Toughness, Thresh 1. What he loses against Gogeta, Gogeta is 9/4, Vegito is an 8/5. Gogeta is an 8/0 when injured. Vegito is a 6/0. And of course, don't forget that Vegito has this very important text down there at the bottom that he cannot be affected by technique effects with a turn cost of 6 or more. Now guess what that means? You basically can't use any technique cards against this bloke. Nothing will work on Vegito, because there's literally no card that has a higher turn cost than 6. Maybe there is 1 or 2, and we actually might be running one of them in this deck. So let's get to that. So I've detailed the fusion deck, maybe a little bit ahead of time, but I wanted you guys to see what we're doing here, and I wanted you guys to see why we're not that fussed about really trying to maximize Goku's skill. A normal deck would just be happy if they can pull this off. We're going way over that, way over that. We don't really even care a lot about Goku. You charge it into Chi, well, you know, shit happens, doesn't really matter. We got a lot of different options to fuse. So I talked about Goku, I talked about Vegeta. Our last character is 18. I talked about 18 when I mentioned the counter cards analysis, which if you haven't checked out, check it out now. And I also talked about 18 in the Super Saiyan 3 Goku deck tech. And if you haven't checked it out, check it out now. 18 is definitely one of the best cards in the game. Maybe not attacking power wise, but her abilities are absolutely amazing. First of all, she's a 5/4, 5/2, making her an extremely good support warrior, and all her other effects allow you to basically really protect your team, whichever team of yours she's supporting. She just allows you to do excellent stuff by ensuring that your team cannot be affected by your opponent's warrior's effects. You can also negate the effect of target technique if you put her back into your deck. So she does everything that you need from a defender warrior. So this is it for the warriors. And now let's look at that one event card that we run. And this is a personal favorite of mine, Alternate Future. What Alternate Future allows us to do, by the way, splashable to any deck because it costs you 2 generic Chi. So you can run this in any deck whatsoever. It doesn't matter whether it's villain or Earth, any deck will be able to support this card. And it's worthwhile running it. The only super rare event ever printed in this game, but oh my god, they really hit the spot with this, guys. They really did hit the spot with this. For basically 3 turns, because time limit 2 means that this card you will be able to use him 3 consecutive turns. Time limit 2 means that the last turn, when you can't take a turn counter off this card, then it will go into your Chi. But for those turns, you're able to have any number of warriors in play that have the same name. So guess what? We just fused into Gogeta. Next turn, we can pick up our Hercule, we can then play our Vegeta, and we can play our Goku, because alternate future is down. Let me represent this because this has some weight to it. So we just fused into Gogeta. We had Goku and Vegeta in play. Fine, pick him up, fuse into Gogeta. Gogeta probably mows down your opponent's team. I don't know what's happening there. We play alternate future. Technically, if let's say this is turn 7, and you played Goku in turn 5, Vegeta in turn 6, and you haven't played any warrior in this turn, you drop alternate fusion. This very turn, you are able to drop Goku back. Or you can decide to drop Vegeta back, search for a technique card. When he uses a technique card, he will also deal 1 damage. He can also search for a technique card. So you can drop Vegeta back, search for 2 technique cards, fuel your hand up with 2 more cards. Maybe you're not going to use them, maybe you'll charge some of that to chi in your next turn, but again, the card advantage they give you is amazing. Or you just decide to drop Goku because you got a few humans in play. Put it behind Gogeta. Let's say you give Goku +3/+3, becomes an A3. So the 2 of them together are already a 17, and it's just the 2 of them. You can potentially have an 18 behind these guys, making them a, what did I say? Another 3. What was that? 14. Sorry, what did I say? It's another 3. 9 plus 5, so there are 14 with another 18 behind them. They're an 18 attacking power, which is massive. It's absolutely massive. And then you can decide to drop your Vegeta the next turn as well. Again, as long as alternate future is in play, it doesn't matter that Goku and Gogeta and Vegeta is the same character, because don't forget, Gogeta says here, name Goku, name Vegeta. Alternate future allows us to just completely disregard. You can even drop a turn 0 Goku if you want at that stage. Doesn't matter. You can do it. Whatever you want. But the idea is that you fuse, and then you're able to replay these guys again to support Gogeta even further. Why do we only run 1 of these then? Well, partly because we don't want to hit alternate future if we, for any reason, fuse into Goku. Plus, 1 is really an ideal number for this deck. We don't really need more. This is more like a win more card for most decks, rather than helping you to get there. But why would you not have fun if you got cards like this in the game? So that's why we run alternate future. Okay, so down to the techniques. We're not going to start with techniques first, because first we want to be able to search for them. We got strategy session, allows us to search our planet for a tool card, really place it in our hand. And tool cards, you play this turn, get -2 turn cost. I'll leave this on the side. This is basically our engine to get the big combo out in this deck, which I still haven't talked about. Crazy. We got Burning Attack, which is it's not a tool technique, but it's got a very low turn cost. We're working with very low turn cost techniques. We want to be able to interact with our opponent as quickly as we can, and allows us to give an opponent's warrior -2/-2 and -2 turn cost. The -2 turn cost is a bit of a fringe thing. We don't really worry about that with this card, but we want to give them -2/-2. And on top of that, we can discard an event card with 2 or less counters on it. So we can pretty much get rid of almost any event card that our opponent might be playing with, which is an immediate fold for your Giant Tape deck if you take out their Full Moon. It can also take out Alternate Future if a deck is relying on this completely. All of a sudden they lose some of their cards they might have in play, because as soon as this card leaves, if you have additional Gokus, additional Vegetas, you have to pick them up and put them in your chi. They can't exist in your reality, quote-unquote reality, any longer. And If we use this burning attack with Trunks, we draw a card. Again, we want card advantage. We get it with burning attack. So if you have to use your burning attack, always use it with Trunks. Or if you fuse into Gotenks, you can also use it with Gotenks and draw a card off it. Now we are going to start to look at our tool cards. We got 3 copies of Power Pole. Again, we're working with low turn cost cards, low chi cost cards, so we can interact with our opponent. Unfortunately, we can only use Power Pole if we're the defender, but it can still give our guy a nice little +2/+0 pump. And guess what? At the end of the turn, we draw a card. This is also a tool card. So if Trunks uses it, or Dr. Wheelo uses it, we draw an additional card of that. So not just the 1 card of Power Pole at the end of our turn, the additional card that we get of Dr. Wheelo, which is an immediate draw, or another draw of Trunks at the end of our turn. That's exactly what we want. Worst case, what you gotta consider this card is a draw 2 cards for 2 chi. And don't worry about the defender, but of course that's the cherry on the top. There you can also pump your own defenders with them. And a personal favorite of mine, Katana Slice. Again, we have another 3 copies. Another tool card, and a very good one for that. We can use it either in strategy or action phase. Doesn't matter if it's if we are the attacker or defender, we can use it anytime. Target warrior your opponent controls gets -2/-2, and negate its effect text and special abilities until end of turn. So you wipe off everything that card. Let's say you were against a Goku. You play Katana Slice, Goku, after your opponent buffed him, spend the chi to do it, you just basically clear it all off. And take -2/-2 away of Goku as well. All this for 2 mana, 1 earth and another generic, and it's gotta be a turn cost of 3. And again, it's a tool card, so we can get this with Dr. Brief. We can manipulate the top of our deck with Fortune Teller Baba to get this. We can search for this with Vegeta. We can bring this back to our hand with Tien. We can search for this card with Gogeta when he drops. We can search this card with Strategy Session. I don't really think I need to go any longer how consistent this deck is with being able to search and do extreme amounts of damage, and also be just constantly have cards in your hand, which doesn't happen with a lot of the cards. We haven't finished it yet, because besides wiping completely clean our opponent's warrior that we attack, we target with this, you may discard an event with a turn cost less than or equal to the number of warriors you control. So not only does it wipe clean, completely clean one of our opponent's warriors, it also removes an event. And again, don't forget that event cards can be game-changing, absolutely game-changing, and a lot of decks really rely on them. You got Cold Legacy, you got, I already talked about Alternate Future, you got, well, Invasion of the Planet, that your opponent can just basically keep on charging more and more into their attack. Full Moon if you're playing against apes, as I said before. So not only burning attack, but Katana Slice. We got 6 cards against events here. And the cream de la cream, the cherry on the top, and one of the main reasons why we run this whole deck. Forget everything that I said up until now. This is why you play this deck. 2 Potara Fusion. Right? What does it do? People used to crap on this card thinking that it was absolute shite. And then turn 5 was released and we got Strategy Session. So what you do? Well, first of all, you can protect him by putting him into your chi. This way this card won't get into your planet damage, and then when you need it, just pick it up with Tien from your chi. Just make sure you don't charge it. It's a turn 7 tool for 4 chi. Any 4 generic chi. By the way, it's a super rare card. So 7 turn cost, 4 chi. Again, not very good. You gotta be the attacker in your strategy phase. Reveal a fusion warrior card from your fusion area. Then remove from game both Material Warriors cards listed on that warrior from your deck. In that case, put the Fusion Warrior card into play. Then at the end of your turn, remove the Fusion Warrior from the game. Now, why would you think we bother with this? Do you remember what Vegito said? Cannot be targeted by effects, or cannot be the target of effects by technique effects with a turn cost of 6 or less. Alright, okay, but Potara Fusion has a 7 turn cost, so what was happening? Well, Strategy Session actually knocks 2 turn cost off the turn cost price of Potara Fusion. If you have 2 Strategy Sessions, in your third turn, I'm not kidding you, in your third turn, you can drop Vegito. In your third turn, you can drop Vegito. If you got 2 Strategy Sessions, you play 1 Strategy Session. You search for another strategy. You search for your Potara Fusion. You drop another Strategy Session, search for anything. Search for a Katana Slice, for example. Get your Katana Slice, doesn't matter. Charge it to Chi or whatever you want to do with it. At this point in time, because we play 2 Strategy Sessions, our Potara Fusion has a turn cost of 3. So what you do, you play it for 4 Chi. You drop your Vegito. You remove your turn 0 Goku and you remove one of your turn 5 Vegitos from the game. It's fine, doesn't matter. When Potara Fusion does its effect, it's a turn 3 card. So it's not going to affect Vegito. It cannot move Vegito to out of the game at the end of your turn because Vegito cannot be affected by techniques which have a turn cost of 6 or less. So basically, at turn 5, ideally turn 5, if you're lucky and you charge a lot of Chi, turn 3, you can drop Vegito, and that's it. He's down there. Turn 3, you got an 8-5, 6-0, which would have normally cost you 2 Chi, by the way. With Super Heal, Toughness, Trash 1. Trash 1, obviously, if his team wins an outstanding victory, you basically mill a card of your opponent's deck into their planet damage. And cannot be affected by anything that your opponent can play against him. And if they have an event and if they want to do something, well, then we got Katana Slice, we got Burning Attack to get rid of those events that might want to be a little bit tricky with Vegito. And if our opponent's trying to use a warrior's ability against Vegito, well, then we got 18 for that. But trust me, by turn 6, they will be pretty much scooping up their cards because there is not much they can do against a turn 5 Vegito, let alone a turn 3 Vegito, which you can pull off pretty consistently, I might add, because the amount of cards you draw, they're all fueling your Chi. Everything that you can do, the deck manipulation that you get with Dr. Brief and Fortune Teller Bubba just allows you to dig through your deck, get the right technique cards that you need, potentially defend your warriors if you have to with Katana Slice, but get that Potara Fusion if you need to hide it, put it down into your Chi, charge it as energy, your TM will bring it back. Once you drop this Vegito, you're not even going to be thinking about fusing into Gogeta. But guess what? Guess what? You can have Vegito in play, and then you can fuse into Gogeta if you have alternate future in play. I think it's fair to say that at this point we broke the game. So, we can just do funny things like Gogeta being a 9 attack. Vegito is just a supporter at this stage, giving him another 5 when they're 14, and then let's say 18 comes in and takes a bite herself, becoming an 18 power. We can then Katana Slice our opponent's warrior, completely wiping off all their skills. Or we can Power Pull, just draw into more cards. It's just crazy. I would say My top three decks in this game. I do have definitely a soft spot for the Namekian Evil Tribe deck, because again that deck also breaks the game. It allows you to put +5/+5 counters on your Lord Slug if you discard another one with Namekian Fusion in play. That completely breaks the game. We also have the Android decks, which also breaks the game. We basically take Daizu, remove our um, event card from the game, which has a turn cost. As soon as that event is removed from play, we can drop another warrior. Again, we break the synergy of being able to just drop one warrior each turn, and that's exactly what we do in this deck as well. All the successful decks either allow you to do something extremely crazy with pumping them, or break the symmetry of being able to drop warriors, additional warriors above the one per turn curve, or drop warriors off curve, which is what we do here with Vegito, being able to drop him potentially turn 3. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet. So, these three decks to me, they're the pinnacle of this game. And I kept holding this deck profile back for a while, because I knew it's going to be like a 40-minute video or something like that, because I can talk about this for ages. But if you really care about this game, and I'm sure that there are some people who still do, if you are one of them, by the way, we created a Facebook group which is solely dedicated to Dragon Ball CCG. You can find us on Facebook. I'll put the group down at the description below. So please come and join us. Take part of the fun. We will be looking at anything that's Dragon Ball CCG related. We're looking at all YouTube videos. We're looking at old game mats that were released. We will be looking at different cards. We're going to be doing some cards analysis. It's excellent for people who want to pick this game up. I'm also constantly coming through eBay looking for people who are still selling cards, for you guys who just can't get the cards from anywhere else. Trust me, there is still some sources out there, and I'm trying to provide all these for you through that Facebook group. So I don't know. Like I said, I knew this video is gonna take a long time, and if you've made it so far, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed the fact that we can drop a Fusion Warrior, which is a turn 7 drop in turn 3, with some of the cards that were clearly not intended to be used together, but Bandai wasn't clever enough. Now I'm not taking full glory for this deck, because there used to be a guy on YouTube called Gingerbeard, and he had some deck decks up. He deleted his channel completely. But if you watch SSJ Future go on, he refers to Gingerbeard as well. Gingerbeard used to help him out with building some decks. And I remember that he had this combo where he basically used Strategy Session with Potara Fusion to drop the Vegito. And he had some similar cards that he ran. He obviously ran I think he ran 2 of the Trunks, and he ran the 3 Dr. Wheelo. But I thought that this deck can be further optimized. And I started to look at, what can we do with Fortune Teller Baba? What can we do with Alternate Future? Well, again, if we maximize the humans, we can actually make Goku very powerful on his own. So we got so many different avenues to draw cards, manipulate cards in the deck, search for cards, um, pump each other, just loads of small interactions. Now, you can pick this deck up and you can start to play with it, and it might be fairly natural at first when you start to play with it, but you really got to think ahead, and that's where the real depth comes in with this deck. When you're trying to look maybe 2 turns ahead, how you're gonna stack those 3 cards with Fortune Teller Baba. Can you fuse into Gokul? That might give you an extremely good support warrior if you can again manipulate the top of your deck with Baba and make him you can ensure that you got Potara Fusion there. It's a 7 turn cost card, so you can basically give Gokul +0/+7 or +7/+0. No, sorry, +0, +7. If it's a technique card, he gets it as support. But if you look into beef him up with 18, 18 is a 6-drop warrior. You can give Goku +6, +0, or you can give Goku +0, +7. You can make him an 11-3 or a 5-10. So there's a lot of flexibility in this deck. You got to understand what deck you're playing against with, and you got to understand what you're trying to do. You should try and form a game plan depending what cards you got in your hand, what you got in your chi. Are you hiding something in your chi? I know some people wouldn't even be thinking about that, but I'm thinking about that because Potara Fusion would be the #1 target if somebody wants to get cards discarded from your hand with Bujin, for example, or Zangya. One of them can discard cards from your hand, which are fairly frequently used cards. Bojak's Gang deck is a fairly good, used to be a fairly good what do we call it? A budget option as a rush kind of deck. And again, if you haven't checked out my Bojak's deck review, then please check it out now. So this will be a #1 target. Charge it down to your chi. You can later get it back with your TN. You can do that. So many opportunities. You can surprise your opponent just by, you dropped your Goku in turn 3. You not dropped anything in turn 4. You pick Goku back up. You can then drop a TN. Maybe you can also drop a Trunks to ensure that you get the draw power. Then Trunks, you might pay an energy, move a Dragon Ball on Trunks, play a burning attack with him. You draw 2 cards. You're already setting up what you're gonna do against your opponent in the next turn. The only thing that you got to be very careful with is doing the maths. How much chi are you going to need? Can you sacrifice to actually charge maybe 3, 4 cards from your hand, so you're already setting up for that Potara Fusion drop? If you want it in turn 3, you got to be very specific. You got to have the right cards in your hand. You got to be able to get Dr. Velo down, maybe use a power pole with Dr. Velo so you're constantly fueling your hand back up. If you got the opportunity to play the top card with Dr. Brief, go and do it. Sorry, I'm getting a bit speech paralyzed. I've been talking for 40 minutes about the same thing. Probably the best deck. I would say probably the best deck. Now, come August, and AKS Jodil, KKX Jodil, and myself, Basayan, we're going to be recording some gameplays with Dragon Ball CCG. So I will guarantee you that I will be bringing up this deck actually being played against another beast of a deck, which is probably going to be either the Namekian deck, or maybe the Android deck, or even the Super Saiyan 3 Goku deck that I've built. It's just going to be a complete battle galore with some amazing gameplays that YouTube has never seen before. So hopefully you guys will stay tuned. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment if you got any questions about this game. Don't hesitate to ask. Again, remember, follow or come and join the Facebook group. And first and foremost, keep this game alive, because this is what I built this channel on, and I will keep carrying on boosting this game until I'm around. So peace out, YouTube. Basayan signing out.